Before we begin, I'd like to set a few expectations for this video as well as future videos. This is by no means a clinical evaluation of any of these characters. These are all my own personal thoughts and feelings filtered through my lens as a therapist, and as such are not representative of how therapy would actually look like, but more as a way to combine psychoeducation and our love for stories and characters that we enjoy. They are all works of fiction and are owned by their respective developers and publishers. Nor are any of these characters' diagnosis, treatment plans, symptoms, etc. are a substitute for real-world therapy for yourself and others. If you or someone you know are suffering or believed to be suffering from any kind of mental health illness, please reach out to a clinician near you for mental health services. Thank you.
Cortana. Cortana, do you read? Cortana, come in. How?
Oh, I'm the strangest thing you've seen all day?
But if we're here...
It worked. You did it. Just like you always do.
So how do we get out of here?
I'm not coming with you this time.
What?
Most of me is down there. I only held enough back to get you off the ship.
No. That's not... We go together.
It's already done.
I am not leaving you here.
John. I've waited so long to do that.
It was my job to take care of you.
We were supposed to take care of each other. And we did.
Cortana, please. Wait.
Welcome home, John.
Love. One of the most difficult things to let go of, whether you're a human, an advanced AI, or a cyborg trained to push aside everything in order to fulfill their mission. Hello, and welcome to Gaming Therapy, a show about exploring gaming's most beloved characters and examining them through the perspective of a therapist. I'm currently an MFT trainee, and one of my biggest hobbies is gaming. Like many of you, I've found myself not only connecting to these characters, but also wonder what makes them tick, what drives them, and most importantly, why do I care so much about a fictional character that I obviously can't share a direct experience with? What you just watched was everything you needed to know about John 117, or as we all famously know him as, the Master Chief. I know that sounds very generic and shallow, but let me explain. As of Halo Infinite's ending, the Master Chief is 49 years old, a human male abducted as a child by Catherine Halsey for her Spartan 2 program, a program designed to create the ultimate super soldier for war. During his time in the program, John was conditioned to be the ideal soldier, agile, intelligent, obedient, emotionless, resilient, and most importantly, to put everything and everyone above himself. And that's what I want to explore and process with you all today. This may or may not have anything to do with the recent cancellation of the Halo show, but I feel like now more than ever, we need to be reminded why the Halo franchise is not only a great universe worth exploring, but why people all over the world can relate to a cyborg blasting aliens with cool weapons. In order for us to begin, I'd like to start at the same place I typically start with my clients, and that's their childhood. After the failure of the Spartan 1 program, Dr. Halsey came to the conclusion that children would be best suited for the program because children are the easiest to adapt to harsh conditions as they mature into adolescents as well as adults. This is nothing new, however, the unfortunate side effect of all of this is that adults, we tend to become obsessed with finding what we needed as children, and in this case with John and many of the other Spartans, is love. Love might seem like the gushy, uncool feeling people ignore when talking about badass stoic male figures, but that's what the Master Chief is most afraid of losing. The one person that believes he is more than just a machine and cares about him like nobody else in his life ever has before. One might argue that the moment Halsey gave Cortana to John, she unknowingly failed to create her perfect soldier. Attachment styles generally come as a set of 4. Secure, avoidant, ambivalent, and disorganized. These are formed during an individual's early childhood and manifest in different ways as they grow older. The Master Chief, in my opinion, leans a little bit more closely to an avoidant attachment style. Avoidant attachment styles often look like independence, a tendency to minimize feelings, as well as downplaying the importance of relationships. As a child, John often thought that he was better off alone because he thought he was better than everyone else, until he learned the importance of teamwork in a training exercise with Blue Team. You were first, but your team came in last, and you don't win unless your team wins. And even then, his views on the importance of teamwork relied heavily on the pragmatic aspects of it. In order to complete the mission, I need to make sure that they are as capable as possible. If not, then I need to protect them. What others view as selfless, others can also view as a form of withdrawal by keeping others at bay in order to protect them, which in turn comes from a place of fear of loss. It's no surprise that John cares a lot about Blue Team. They are, after all, trauma bonded, and nobody else in the world can even possibly understand what they have gone through except other Spartans. So, the need to protect himself emotionally as a child is to avoid relationships as much as possible, which Halsey also assisted with by suppressing their emotions via an emotional regulation system embedded into each Spartan. Once Cortana and the Chief were bonded after serving a few missions together, it became very apparent that they were inseparable, even more so than John was to Blue Team, simply due to the fact that Cortana fulfilled the one part nobody else could. And coincidentally, it was also the part that Halsey and the rest of the UNSC tried to kill in every Spartan: attachment. When we explore avoidant attachment styles, we tend to think that it simply means that someone wants to avoid anything and everything because they simply don't like people or situations. But oftentimes, it's because that individual's parents, caregivers, or guardians minimalize that child's needs and wants and reinforces the idea that they don't matter. And if that relationship doesn't matter, then why should any other relationship matter? Putting others' needs above yours only reinforces that belief, and simply put, that's what Halsey and the Spartan program was used for in order to create the perfect obedient soldiers. The Master Chief is by no means a monster. He has shown to care about other people's feelings, but it's often a tactic he employs because he has to. As a fellow soldier, John knows how important it is to rally other Marines, ODSTs, and civilians caught in the crossfire in order to help them survive. John has consistently given his all throughout every mission, but we often forget to think about how much is asked of him in order to do so. Not once has John ever complained or defied a direct order from his superiors due to an emotional outburst. Well, except for maybe one notable instance. During the events of Halo 4, due to Cortana's rampancy progressing, Del Rio, the commanding officer of the UNSC ship Infinity, attempted to decommission her in front of John due to minimalizing the threat of the Didact, a forerunner enemy capable of wiping out humanity. In a moment of defiance, John stepped in and obtained Cortana before anyone else could as a way to not only fight against the Didact, but to also save the one person he trusts and cares for the most. Perhaps to others, this moment might seem like a simple act of defiance against an asshole, but for John, this was a moment where he let his dormant emotions override the chain of command and go against the system he swore loyalty to, all to protect Cortana because he can't lose her. Nay, he won't lose her. This act of defiance was just as much of an act out of fear made by John as it was an act to save humanity by the Master Chief. This brings us back to the scene that started this video, and one particular action that he makes. It's subtle, but it might be the most impactful moment of this scene. When the Master Chief lowers his head to avoid looking at Cortana, it's no longer the Master Chief speaking, but John.
It was my job to take care of you.
We were supposed to take care of each other. And we did.
Cortana, please.
A supervisor once told me that we're just children in adult bodies and we tend to grow up to be the people we needed as children. And to be perfectly honest, it makes an uncomfortable amount of sense. My experience working with adults have shown me how almost every aspect of our adult lives can be sourced back to the things that we have experienced as children. The ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experience Assessment, comes to mind, but that's a topic for another deep dive. So, what can we do to help John? What would our treatment goals look like? Well, for one thing, I'd like to start him off by exploring the dichotomy between what being a soldier is versus being an individual that has emotional needs. Even in the real world, veterans are often shunned by civilians because they've become so divorced from their old civilian lives with the soldiers they had to become in order to do the things they needed to do in order to protect us. In lore, most people used to fear Spartans and were thought of as terrifying inhuman troops due to their ferocity and mysterious natures, so we can only imagine how lonely that could be. Second, I'd like to explore the relationship he has with others, which ones are harmful and which ones were healthy, if any, in the past or present. Lastly, we would also want to explore how we can move forward without Cortana. Learn to let go, and instead build a life that can allow John to build healthy relationships that can support him emotionally, that make him feel wanted, safe, and loved. The body language John uses throughout this scene is so rich with attachment data. As we mentioned in the beginning, it can be argued that John has an avoidant attachment style because of things we've previously mentioned. But the part that I didn't mention before was that the inverse of those aspects are what they also need the most. John wants a relationship with others but can't. Except for the literal pairing with Cortana, he is fiercely independent, but will travel across planets, star systems, and defy the very government he swore to protect to maintain the emotional codependency he has with Cortana. He minimalizes the importance of every relationship he has with the exception of Blue Team and Halsey, but with Cortana, he goes AWOL, he is willing to give up almost everything in order to bring her back while fending off fellow Spartans and alien species. She does for him what others weren't capable of doing, and he never stopped fighting to reciprocate that feeling. And that feeling was love. Thank you for taking the time to explore this with me. I know that there's tons of things we weren't able to cover and things we might even disagree on, but like therapy, things change the more we learn and process things together. I'm excited to revisit this topic later on as I grow as a therapist and more games, novels, and hopefully a better TV show releases in the future. Who knows, we might even be able to find out more information that either reinforces this video or completely debunks it, and that would be so exciting. As a therapist, I believe that collaboration is our greatest strength, and when coming up with treatment goals, it's important that we move forward together. And that's how I would like to continue these videos. If you feel like exploring a particular character or theme from a game, please let me know in the comments and write down why you think you would like to explore it. I'm gonna read every suggestion and hopefully find the time to make a video on it. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.